Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate, episode 64. Yes. Let's talk about cards that we want to see possibly go up, possibly not go up, come down. Let's kind of start there, and I have B-Wings up, but we don't really have to talk about B-Wings. That's not the intent. Is I just wanted to test it. I forgot to clear my cache. All right, so why don't we talk Rebels then? I guess we'll transition into Rebels. Okay. We'll start on the what needs point increases.
All right. Okay. Point increases. Can you? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Never mind. Stupid. Okay. So point increases. I'm really hesitant. So remember when Luke used to be 7 points?
Yep.
And he saw a little bit of play, but kind of not a lot, right? Like it wasn't. There were lists that featured him, but most lists opted to go with 5 or 6 ships, and he couldn't never in any world fit in those lists. He went down to 6, the same as Wedge. I've never agreed that they're both at the same value, even though in this kind of new world of the economy of X-Wing, it kind of makes sense the way they decided to price them. However, if they decide to keep Trick Shot, Shattering Shot, all the things that Luke takes advantage of the exact same, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bumped his loadout points back up a few and shot him back up to 7. He's a problem, but he with all of his tools, he can be.
Yeah. And if it goes back, do we the talent slot, right? Like,
yeah.
maybe the talent slot. And again, that's the sad thing. Luke deserves a talent slot. There's things that he deserves.
Yeah.
And maybe at 6, you get rid of 22 points. And you say, I know you want to be thematic, but Vader is 7 points. So either you... And maybe this is where we talk about moving Rebel down and making a few cheaper options to run with Luke, right? Yeah. Like, and I think A-Wings, like when people were talking about 6 A-Wing meta, right? You know, like everybody was like 6 A-Wing meta that's going to break everything. It didn't. It didn't at all.
It can't do damage.
Yeah. Like you could take crates, but now that you can't boost or do any of these other things with them, right? They're not as powerful, right? So I think if we keep Luke the same, to me, I think you bring Luke's loadout down. I think that's what you do just to begin with, is let's bring Luke's loadout down so that you make the choice between Wedge and Luke to some extent, right? So, like, let him take proton torpedoes and a talent or force upgrade for 3 points and call it a day. You get 15 points. Still pretty nasty, because you can still take Shattering Shot at 3 points right now, right? Or you could take Crack Shot, you know.
Yeah, I would. Let's see. So Wedge is 4 points less. I honestly would give Wedge. I would give both, because they're being treated as equal right now in the eyes of the meta. If they stay at 6 points each, then maybe Wedge gets 2 more points and Luke loses 2 points. And Wedge doesn't have access to the Force talent, and I don't know if Trick Shot on Wedge is really worth it anyways. Like if you gave him 2 more points, you could entertain taking it, but I don't know if that's necessarily a thing that would work out. But it's just worth, like, Rebel Alpha, those two with proton torpedoes and the ability to have double modded shots. It's so freaking strong, and I can speak from experience playing Luke. I've played with protons since day one of playing this game, but now being able to play both of them with all of those bells and whistles is kind of terrifying and fun. So fun at the same time. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it went up to 7. And Navi mentioned the Battle of Yavin, Luke. I don't even know how to even analyze or talk about that stuff. Yeah. It's just ridiculous and quick builds, and I don't know, man. I just swear to God, if he can't be cheaper than the other version of Luke, like,
no one's gonna take him. I don't know. I don't know. You might take him. It's a free boost. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't either. When those come out and we could spend time playing with them, sure.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't
just hard to talk about them, right?
Yeah, like we'll have another points show in the end of October. It'll happen. You can come back on too, Nick. There you go. There's a new invite for you. So we'll have that conversation. So.
Keeping on X-wings, I think Colby Sperado could gain a couple loadout and go up to 5. Um, him with Notorious is it at 4 points is just kind of too good.
At an I4? Yes.
Colby's slotted in too easily right now. Again, make people think about what they're putting in their lists. Have to decide. Make them have decisions. Yeah. So make him 5 points. Isn't Thane Kyrell 5 points? I just think they should be the same cost. Yeah, Thane's
Yep,
5 with
Thane's
14
5.
loadout.
And I like
So
Thane. I would probably
yeah,
take Colby in certain types of scenarios, depending what your list does, over Thane in other scenarios, right?
yeah. Oh, Navi is just speaking my language tonight. I mean, we'll get to Notorious, but
We'll get to
like,
Notorious. Notorious is definitely going to go up in points. And again, this is where we talk restricted lists, right? Like, there's so many things you can do with restricted lists, and I am very pro restricted lists. Like, that was what we used in Destiny. That was my favorite. I mean, I will tell you, I actually went back and had to go like try to rebuild old Destiny lists because I was going to play Destiny at Gen Con until I decided I didn't care enough. And that was just the whole thing of it is that you don't ban it, you put it on so you can't take like Luke and Notorious in the same list. Boom, there you go. You solve a lot of problems. And yes, you will create unintended problems with it, but so be it.
It's kind of what we're dealing with. Still dealing with all the unintended results of
Yeah.
shifting the game so heavily, so quickly. Ironing it out slowly, but some of it's not going to be easy or possible to iron out. So gotta get as close as possible. You want to talk about the Z95s really quick?
Yes.
So
Are you talking
I'm
Kraken?
Well, so Aaron Kraken can't really take much right now with the loadout. 9 points. However, the at B you should be priced at I5. I was going to have a conversation with a friend of mine who play X-Wing, Manny, who's played in our streams before. The only other I5 that I can think of that's 3 points is Contrail. I don't know if there is another I5 beyond that. If you correct me if I'm wrong, but um there should be a little bit more of a price for a high initiative, and Aaron being able to give actions. It feels like a 4-pointer to me, and maybe he can take more loadout points, 3 or 4 more loadout points.
Yeah, I say bump him up to give him 15 loadout points. I'm okay with that.
Jeez.
Give him 15 because then he could take a proton torpedo too.
Oh man, but that's just encouraging the proton torpedo spam.
All right. We haven't gotten to what my recommendation for proton torpedoes are though.
Yeah, restrict them or something.
Yeah. Well, not just restrict them. I actually would pip them. Pip them at 1. Or
2
nope.
and make them 13 points.
No, I say give them 1. Get 1.
Make them more expensive and make them 2.
What if
someone has hurt you deeply with proton torpedoes?
No, I say how about this? What if you pipped every missile? You can only take 1. Create a diverse meta. See, you guys just like all your like exact same Z like solutions. Like at least AMG
exact same Z.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like I want to run 1 pilot with this and 1 pilot exactly the same. And like when we talk about like cookie cutter list building, like and when there's a reason why you run like I3 droids with your I3 bombers, even though the I3 bombers in Separatists suck ass.
That's right. You're a Separatist player. The proton torpedoes mean your ships get 1 shot at every time they get shot.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with 2 agility, and it doesn't matter if I'm on a rock if it's fucking Wedge. So
yeah, you're done.
Wedge comes in and it's like, well, I hope you shot your Discord missile. I hope I don't take energy shells on them very often because when you one shot them, then I never get my energy shell off. It just doesn't exist.
The way I see it though, with Rebels now and me flying that 3-ship list, the proton torpedoes kind of try to compensate for the fact they just don't have as much going in terms of strength and numbers and overall efficiency. Once they fire the protons, it gets a lot harder, and dice or dice, so you can fail those volleys as well. So I think restricting them so that you couldn't have more than 2 torpedoes of any kind would be interesting. Like you can't even have, you can't have a list with a proton and 2 plasmas. You'd have to have, 2 max or even including advanced and ions, just try to take away some of the alpha, like the alpha spam. I wouldn't consider Luke and Wedge to be alpha spam. It definitely feels bad getting shot back to back by them, but they're not spamming anything. There's just 2 of them. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at upgrades, it fixes some of that piece of it, right? Like I think that it fixes a few of those issues you run into, specifically with having things only have proton torpedoes. And I'm not opposed to proton torpedoes, just so you know. Like they don't actually bother me as bad as, like, it's not on Tanner's go fuck yourself list. We'll just put
I'm
it that way.
surprised, to be honest, because I wouldn't blame you if you were like, yeah, fuck these things.
I don't like them, but compared to a lot of other things, they don't. Like I tech against. It's just you tech against them if that's what the meta is. I got a Shave Cloud, so
yeah,
come at me.
AMG clearly wants people to be taking proton torpedoes because these loadout point values are so high. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
I
that
know.
slots in the afterburners of the proton torpedoes. That's half of it, and you still got room for everything else. So,
Yeah, but I
yeah.
agree. Let's bump Kraken up a bit.
Yeah, maybe Blancos down in conjunction, back down to 2 with no loadout. I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that either. Actually, I like Blount, and Kraken. If it didn't have the give a free action, even if it's red, if it didn't have that piece of it, I think that I wouldn't care if he was 3 points.
Yeah,
but
no, for sure.
It's just really so good at 5 because you can shoot. You could take other 5 ships and call it a day.
Yeah.
So,
all right, moving on. You said.
Yeah, what other things bother you that you think need points adjustments in Rebels?
Stuff that should go down. This is, I'd say, I'm taking a look at, let's see, what I would maybe consider having Fen be 5 points with like very little loadout. The Fang Fighters just aren't built for the Rebel identity, and no matter what, if they're 5 or 6 points, even though he's I6, he's just not gonna. They're not gonna get great results. Now, I think if they want to get them played at all, that they be a little more aggressive with them and trying Fen at 5 points. And who's the other one? Bodica's the one that gets the double tap, right? Bodica's already 5 points as well. So.
I say you bump Bodica's loadout out, but
yeah,
you want to hear a hot take?
Go for it.
What if we lowered all Fang Fighters a point in Rebel? What if you just lowered all of them except for whatever? I don't care about generics. Let's just move on from the generic. Do they even have generics? Oh, they have Clan Ren volunteers.
Yeah, which I think are still considered limited.
Yeah, they're still limited. So yeah, what if you lowered all of them 1 point?
I would keep Bodica at 5 just because you got a price for shooting multiple times, but I otherwise would think that would be pretty fair. Especially Dirk. After you fully execute a red maneuver, perform a red action, you may acquire locked on enemy ship in your front arc. I mean, come on.
Nobody runs Dirk.
Yeah.
But I think if you move them down, and I say this because Fang Fighters pop. Like, we know what they do. They don't live. I see them as is somewhat cannon fodder, and think that maybe we could just lower them a little bit. And then dare I say I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do to B-Wings to make them better since they lost Trajectory Simulator. I don't know, but there's
the chassis struggles. I think the B-Wing is an acquired taste, and when people can run them successfully, and it's very impressive, but they're tough. I just don't. You'd have to fundamentally change the ship, I think, to. It's not too much because they're priced okay. I mean, they're 8 health. They have the ability to double tap. They have very efficient pilots with double mods, and I mean they'll try their best to kill something before they die. And if they don't, then it's just on the chassis and being too weak with the 1 agility, and at least it has those 4 shields to lean on. But the next thing I want to talk about, though, if you're cool with moving on to another ship, is the Hawk.
Yep, that same one I was going to do.
Yeah,
I'm already bringing it up.
6 points for Jan and Kyle and Rourke is intense. Like that's pretty heavy duty, man. Like they don't want them to get played when that's the idea that I get when I look at their cost. It's like, look, I get Jan. Jan is good because of her ability, but she also handicaps herself when she's taking the stress. And the Hawk can get one-shotted fairly easily, especially if a torpedo is getting shot at it,
So think of it this way.
5 points makes sense.
Think of it this way. In Scum, which is they're basically the same ship, right? You can run the title on one ship, and that ship's 5 points. Nope, 2 ships. I apologize. There's 2 ships that are 5 points that you can run the title on. And I don't care if they want to leave Jan there, like leave Jan at the I-5 at 6 points, just so we don't have to deal with Jan right now. Fine, go ahead, be done with it.
Yeah, we're not ready to deal with it right now at that cost, at a lower.
I'm
cost.
Okay. Every other one of them, either if you're going to give them the title, move them to 5 points. If you take the title away, then move them to 4 points. Like, I actually would argue Kyle at 4 points without the title is I would take him.
Yeah, they do need the contrary to like Scum, they actually kind of really need Moldy Crow, I think. If you're going to invest 5 points in one of those things, I love the Hawk, by the way, personally, one of my favorites, but it's the same reason why I don't take like Dutch Vander, is that I feel like I'm kind of giving something up to my opponent somewhat easily, with the ship that is kind of an easier target. The Hawk isn't a maneuverable boost, but it has to get close enough to be able to use its ability for its, for Kyle pass tokens or for Jan to take dress.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for Christ's sake, Gamut is a 3-point Scum ship.
Yeah, I was playing him last night. Yeah, Gamut's great.
Like, come on. Rebel is probably my least favorite faction. I'll just be frank here. But I don't feel at 6 points any of these are worth it. Like, you could take Wedge, or you could take Jan. Who are you gonna take?
That's a great way to put it, honestly.
No one in the right mind.
Obi-Wan is cheaper than these things. I'm gonna compare things to Obi-Wan so many times, because when Duncan told me after I killed him that he was only worth 5 points, I almost had a panic attack.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? He's only worth 5 points? He's the same price as your lat? So yes, no, the Obi-Wan should not be cheaper than the Hawks.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say, I don't think anything else stands out much. The Y-Wings and the RZ ones are they're not equipped to win games in 2.6 or whatever 2.5, what we call it these days.
Whatever the hell it is, yeah.
Dutch at 4, is cheap, but he still feels too expensive because he's gonna die immediately, like turn 2 or 3.
Yeah, I don't think Dutch is too cheap. Let's stay this.
He shouldn't be 3. That's the thing, though. This is the problem with where 200-point list building easily solved these issues, where you can make Dutch 2 points cheaper, or you can make him 8 points cheaper. Now, a 1 point in either direction is way too intense. It's like it's too competitive and unfair, or it's so unplayable. And so, yeah, you have to keep him at 4 and just maybe give him more loadout points. Like, let him take what can he take right now?
He has 12 points. He could take a proton speed.
You should be able to take a proton torpedo and like ion cannon turret. And honestly, you should also be able to take R3 astromech. Maybe enough for a dorsal R3 and protons.
Yeah. I think at 4 points, you give him 20 points of loadout and call it a day. Like, I think that's a fair piece for him.
And you got to see that he's in a 2 shield, 6 hull, 1 agility chassis that is just so bad at maneuvering and is easy to kill. Like, that's why you give him more loadout points.
Yeah,
you can encourage people to try him.
You could dump Dutch in 2 rounds if you know what you're doing.
For sure.
So
yeah,
he's I don't know.
The fact that actually, so one of the biggest reasons outside of him being easy to kill that I would never want to play him right now is that he can't even take a turret to cover his side. Like, it's horrible. Yeah. Or a droid. If you assuming we're taking proton torpedoes, they can't even take a droid.
If you take plasmas at 7, you get 5 points. That's it.
Yeah.
You could take dorsal turret and R3. That's what you could take. You can have plasmas, dorsal turret, and R3.
Yeah, he kind of really wants the ion cannon turret because it's actually threatening. Dorsals are not threatening at all.
They're not, no. Or you could take Nora for 18 points at 5 loadout, and guess what she does? Every time you shoot at her, it's basically like a
But it's so bad in the Y-wing, right? Like, it's sure she's adding an evade result, but like it's basically a reinforce for a ship that's dying already. Like,
I know. I will tell you, I still think Nora in the Y-wing is actually pretty decent, but again, here we have a ship at 5 points with 18 loadout, right? That has a somewhat better ability than Dutch. Like, Dutch's ability on that ship at 4 points is not worth it.
Would it be really, really bad idea if you drop Nora down to 4 and dropped your loadout points down?
No, I would take Nora. I still would take Nora. As long as I could take like an ion cannon turret, and an astromech.
Make it less than Dutch.
Yeah.
Make her the same price. Yeah, just price them to encourage people to try them, right? Like, try it out.
I would take Nora, and maybe that's the John piece of it that John plays with me all the time. So
yeah,
he likes Nora. So, oops. Awesome. All right. With that being said, thank you all for joining us. We will be back next week, Sunday night, 9 p.m. We're going to be covering all the different tournaments that are happening next weekend.